In a world where gates portals to dungeons filled with monsters suddenly open, son Jin Woo, a 24-year-old E-rank hunter, is known as the weakest man in humanity. He risks his life in low-level raids to earn money for his mother's medical treatment and his sister Jinna's education. Jin Woo joins a D-rank raid in a goblin dungeon alongside experienced hunters, including leader Kim Sung-jin and healer Lee Ju-hee. The group easily dispatches the first monsters, but Jin Woo, as always, stays in the back row, avoiding danger. The raid squad discovers a secret door at the end of the dungeon, the entrance to the second dungeon, a rare and deadly trap. Behind the door, they find a hall with giant statues of angels and demons that give off a creepy vibe. The statues come to life according to the rules carved on a stone slab. Praise the Lord, don't move without a reason, sacrifice yourself. The hunters panic and break the rules. The statues attack with lasers and swords, killing them one by one. Jin Woo, remembering old games, figures out the mechanics. You have to stand still and praise. But the chaos grows, and Lee Ju-hee screams in horror. Most of the squad dies, including their leader Kim Sung-jin. Jin Woo, wounded and bleeding, distracts the final angel statue to save the survivors. Run! I'll hold him off. He receives a fatal blow from a sword. But at the moment of death, a mystical interface appears before him. The system, offering him the chance to become a player. Accept? The window reads. Jin Woo mentally agrees, and his body is enveloped in light. This is a turning point. From a victim, he becomes the chosen one. Jin Woo wakes up in a hospital where survivors mourn the dead. Now he sees a gamer HUD, levels, stats, inventory, just for him. The system's first task: daily quest, 100 push-ups, squats, and running in place. Ignoring it leads to the penalty area, a dark zone with monsters where he is nearly killed by ghostly creatures. After completing the quest, he receives rewards, full recovery, +1 to strength. Jin Woo realizes his chance to change. I will never be weak again. With his stats boosted, Jin Woo enters the Instant Dungeon, a personal dungeon from the system with goblins and wolves. He tears through enemies in close combat, leveling up with kills and unlocking skills like Bloodsucker. The final boss is a huge mutant bear. Jin Woo dodges, strikes at weak points, and wins, receiving rare items. His level rises to 8, his strength multiplies. This is the beginning of evolution. Jin Woo, already level 8 after his personal dungeon, agrees to a C-rank raid with newbie Yunho from the familiar guild to earn some cash. Their squad of 8 hunters enters a dungeon with mana crystals, a rare find. The boss, a giant tarantula spider, is easily defeated thanks to their coordination. But after the battle, the other hunters change their attitude. They lock Jin Woo and Yunho in the boss room, planning to take all the loot. E-rank and a newbie aren't worth a share. The leader of the group, the arrogant C-rank Hwang Dong-su, mocks them. The boss will finish you off and will collect the crystals. Meanwhile, the system issues an urgent quest. Kill all the traitors or die. Jin Woo feels a rush of adrenaline. His stats skyrocket. The system amplifies Jin Woo, fatigue, by 70%, but he is faster than lightning. The first traitor approaches with a smirk and loses his head from an invisible blow. The sword cascade materializes in Jin Woo's hands from his inventory. Chaos? The rest grab their weapons in panic, shouting demon? Jin Woo dodges the attacks, cuts down 2 in close combat, using Bloodsucker for regeneration. Yunho watches in shock as the weakling E-rank dominates. Leader Hwang Dong-su strikes with magic, but Jin Woo counterattacks, breaking his arm. You, monster! The traitor gasps. This is the first time Jin Woo has killed people, and he is tormented by his conscience. To survive, I must become a killer. The quest is updated, 5/6 complete. The last traitor, a C-rank mage, teleports to attack, but Jin Woo anticipates this jumps and plunges his sword into the mage's throat. Hwang Dong-su crawls, begging, I'll take all the money. I won't say a word about you. Jin Woo replies coldly. It's too late, and finishes off the leader. The quest is complete reward, plus 3 levels, blood dance, skill combat, enhancement, full recovery. Yunho trembles and asks, Who? Who are you? Jin Woo hides the system. Just lucky. They extract tons of mana crystals, sell them, and Jin Woo is rich for the first time. But inside, he is changing. Weakness kills. Strength is the only way. The chapter ends with a hint of rumors about false rancor. Jin Woo returns home, where his sister Jin A is preparing dinner. He gives her money and gadgets, concealing their source. Brother, you've changed. You've become stronger in the smell of power. She jokes. At night, the system issues a weekly quest, intensive training with bonuses. Jin Woo farms in instant dungeons, leveling up to 15 and unlocking shadow skills, such as Shadow Step. He meets some hunter friends. Li Ju-hee notices his progress, but he brushes it off. Yunho appears, offering to partner up in guild raids, the beginning of an alliance. Meanwhile, rumors of a massacre in the dungeon are growing. One survived and killed everyone. The familiar guild calls for a B-rank raid. But Jin Woo senses something fishy. The dungeon mutates into an A rank with elite wolves and a night boss. He solo kills waves using new skills. Greed absorbs enemies' mana. Levels fly up to 20. The night boss in armor summons a mini-army. Jin Woo activates Berserk and cuts everyone to pieces. Reward, a rare demon dagger, and the title, Boss Slayer. Yunho is delighted. You're S rank in an E-body. The chapter cliffhanger is filled with rumors about Raider, who hunts alone. Jin Woo looks in the mirror. Muscles, cold eyes. The birth of the Shadow Monarch. Sung Jin Woo regains consciousness in the hospital after a nightmarish raid on the underground temple. He discovers that he has completely healed from his fatal wounds, but the doctors and guild are perplexed. His magical energy is still rated as the weakest rank E. Returning home, Jin Woo once again sees the mysterious blue interface, Quest. He realizes that what happened to him was real, not a hallucination. The system gives him his first task: do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 sit-ups, and run 10 kilometers. Despite the pain and exhaustion, he forces himself to complete it. After completing the quest, he receives a reward, and his physical parameters increase slightly. This confirms that the system is working. He decides to hide his changes and continue to complete daily training quests to become stronger. Jin Woo begins his new life, filled with grueling daily training sessions assigned by the system. He balances his regular job with strange labor-intensive quests, such as killing mosquitoes or catching cats. His body begins to change. He develops defined muscles, increased endurance, and strength. For the first time, he feels that he can protect himself rather than just survive. The system becomes an integral part of his existence, constantly offering new challenges for growth. The guild he belongs to, the Song Guild, receives a lucrative offer to explore a recently discovered low-level underground grotto. The guild manager decides to send Jin Woo there, since he always survives. Jin Woo, as part of a small group of D and E rank hunters, arrives at an underground cave. The task is simple. Make sure there are no hidden threats there, and then sell the rights to develop it. Using his sensitivity to danger, passive skill from the system, Jin Woo is the first to realize that something is wrong. He senses an abnormal and frightening magical force emanating from the depths. The grotto turns out to be not a low-level area, but a hidden, unaccounted-for zone of high danger. The group decides to retreat, but finds itself trapped. The exit disappears. Monsters emerge from the darkness, much stronger than expected. A chaotic battle for survival begins. The hunters, caught off guard by the monsters, suffer heavy losses. Jin Woo, relying on his reflexes, honed through training, tries to dodge the attacks and help the others. At a critical moment, Jin Woo sees the only possible way to escape a narrow passage in the wall. He yells at the survivors to follow him. At this moment, his behavior changes dramatically. From a passive victim, he instinctively begins to take on the role of leader in a life-threatening situation. He and several other hunters manage to squeeze through the passage at the last moment. However, their safety is temporary. They find themselves in a new, unexplored part of the dungeon, and the monsters are already on their trail. The fugitives find themselves in a huge cave filled with monster eggs. They realize that they have stumbled upon a nesting ground. There is no way back, and the only possible exit is a huge door on the other side of the cave. New spiders begin to hatch from the eggs. Jin Woo realizes that they have only one chance to run across the cave while the newborn monsters are still weak. He makes a strategic decision and leads a desperate sprint to the door. When they reach the massive door, they discover that it is locked. While the hunters are in despair, Jin Woo notices a strange mechanism similar to an altar, which requires a sacrifice magical energy or life to open. While the group is in a panic, a giant creature emerges from the depths of the cave, the Spider Queen, the ruler of this nest. Her power is incomparable to anything they have seen before. She instantly kills one of the hunters, finding himself in a hopeless situation between the queen and the locked door. Jin Woo sees the system give him an emergency quest: survive. The reward for completing it is not specified, but the penalty for failure is clear death. This moment emphasizes that the system is not just a game, but part of a deadly reality. The Spider Queen attacks. Jin Woo, driven by pure survival instinct, pushes his comrade away and takes the blow himself. He is pierced by the queen's huge, sharp claw. Jin Woo, mortally wounded, falls. He feels life leaving him. Around him, the last surviving hunters are dying. In his dying state, he hears the system's voice again. The phrase rings out. The conditions for the hidden quest have been met. Objective: survive until the end. The player's forced transformation begins. His body is enveloped in light for a moment. At this moment, the reader realizes that the real game and Jin Woo's awakening are just beginning. The timer for the survive quest restarts, giving him another 4 minutes. The system changes the conditions. Now he must not only survive, but also kill the enemy. Sensing the change, the Spider Queen rushes at him with fury. Jin Woo rises. His wound is still terrible, but he no longer feels agony. He is driven by a single thought, repeated like a mantra: I will not die. He looks at the queen, not with fear, but with cold determination. For the first time, he consciously uses the system's skill, prescribed weapon. A short dagger materializes in his hands. Although it is weak against such a monster, it is a symbol of his new status as a player, armed with the system. Their duel begins with Jin Woo relying only on his willpower and basic evasion skills. Dodging attacks, Jin Woo notices a weak spot, a wound on the queen's head, inflicted earlier by another hunter. He concentrates all his strength for one decisive blow. Summoning all his physical strength accumulated during days of training, Jin Woo plunges his dagger into the wound on the Spider Queen's head. The monster is defeated. The system sounds an audible signal: victory. Jin Woo gains a huge amount of experience, and his level rises rapidly. He sees his main stats, strength, agility, endurance, etc., fill up. This is visible proof of his growth and a reward for winning the deadly battle. After the victory, the door opens. Jin Woo, now physically restored by the system, but morally devastated by what he has experienced, leaves the dungeon. He finds himself alone in an abandoned building in the city, in complete silence. All the other members of the group are dead. Jin Woo steps outside. He is met by rapid response forces and reporters. He is the only survivor of the entire group that went to the simple cave. He is interrogated by a powerful high-ranking hunter from the Explorers Guild. Jin Woo, maintaining a cold and detached expression, tells only what is strictly necessary, hiding the existence of the system. He realizes that his former life is over. The look at the end of the chapter speaks for itself. This is no longer a weak and frightened E-rank hunter, but something else, hardened by death and imbued with unique power. Jin Woo officially receives the status of the sole survivor of the Hidden Zone incident, which attracts unhealthy attention to him. He returns to training, but now with a new goal to understand all the capabilities of his system and become so strong that he will never find himself in such a helpless situation again. His journey as a lone leveler begins. Jin Woo finds himself in a strange space, similar to a dungeon, but controlled by a mysterious system. He is given his first daily task. Do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 sit-ups, and run 10 kilometers. Despite the absurdity of the task for a hunter, he decides to complete it. After an exhausting and literally soul-crushing workout, Jin Woo completes the task. At that moment, he physically feels an increase in strength. His body, which had always been weak, is filled with energy. He realizes that the system is real and gives him a unique chance to change. A new quest appears on the interface screen. Defeat enemies within the dungeon. Encouraged by his first success in physical changes, Jin Woo clenches his fist. He is ready to test his new strength in real combat and heads deep into the dungeon to meet the first monsters. Jin Woo encounters familiar low-level monsters, goblins, and orcs. In the past, even a single such enemy posed a deadly threat to him. Using brute physical strength, speed, and tactical intelligence, Jin Woo dispatches them with little effort. Each kill brings him experience and a level up. He feels his base stats, strength, agility, stamina, grow with each level. This isn't just training, it's effective leveling up, transforming him from a victim into a predator in this world. After clearing part of the dungeon, Jin Woo faces a stronger opponent, a huge troll. This battle becomes the first real test of his growing power and decision-making in combat. The fight with the troll demonstrates that Jin Woo is not yet all-powerful. His blows inflict damage, but the monster is huge and strong. Jin Woo has to use his surroundings and dodge, rather than relying solely on brute force. Realizing that he may lose in a head-on attack, Jin Woo uses tactics. He lures the troll into a narrow passage where it cannot swing its arms, and methodically attacks its weak spots. Victory is more difficult, but it brings much more experience. Jin Woo realizes the importance of not only strength, but also intelligence in battle. After his victory, the system offers him a new, unexpected, and very dangerous choice. Go through a randomly generated portal? Yes? No. Curiosity and a thirst for growth compel Jin Woo to agree. Jin Woo passes through the portal and finds himself in a completely different, gloomy, and oppressive dungeon resembling a castle. The atmosphere here is much more dangerous. Almost immediately, he is attacked by powerful skeleton monsters. He realizes that he has entered an instance dungeon, a special, random zone with increased difficulty. This is not a training ground for beginners, but a challenge. The skeletons are stronger and more coordinated than previous enemies. Jin Woo has to fight at the limit of his new abilities, realizing that he could really be killed here. After dealing with the gods, he enters the main hall of the castle. A figure in shining armor sits on a throne in the distance. The creature raises its head, and Jin Woo realizes that this is the dungeon boss, the Knight Igoril, and that battle with him is inevitable. Knight Igoril, an elite monster, demonstrates overwhelming superiority from the very first second. His speed is such that Jin Woo can barely keep up with his movements, and a single blow of his sword throws him across the entire hall. Jin Woo suffers a crushing defeat. All his newly acquired strength and confidence are shattered by Igoril's steel armor. He finds himself on the brink of death, realizing that his growth is catastrophically insufficient. In this moment of despair, the system offers him a special survival quest. Bleeding profusely and almost unconscious, Jin Woo accepts the quest. His task is to hold out and inflict at least some damage on the powerful knight. It seems impossible, but there is no other way out. Jin Woo uses his last ounce of strength to dodge and look for any weakness in Igoril's defense. He no longer thinks about winning, he thinks about surviving for as long as possible. With incredible effort, relying on his instincts and remaining strength, he manages to inflict a single wound on Igoril. This proves to be enough to fulfill the quest conditions. The system announces the reward, and Jin Woo receives instant healing and a new, incredibly powerful skill. Full of strength and possessing a new ability, Jin Woo no longer sees Igoril as a victim, but as an equal opponent. He is ready for a second round of combat, but now the outcome is a foregone conclusion. Jin Woo uses his new skill, Shadow Extraction. A black substance is drawn from the body of the defeated Igoril, forming an exact but dark copy of the knight, now completely subservient to Jin Woo's will. This is a turning point in his development. He realizes the true extent of his unique power. He is no longer just a strong hunter, he is the Lord of Shadows, capable of creating an army from defeated enemies. Igoril's shadow becomes his first and most powerful soldier. With an army of one powerful shadow, Jin Woo leaves the elite dungeon and returns to the original one. His goal now is not just to survive, but to deliberately seek out strong opponents to expand his army. Returning to the first dungeon, Jin Woo tests his new abilities. He orders the Shadow of Igoril to attack the monsters and is convinced of her strength and unquestioning obedience. He contemplates the strategic advantages of his power. Now he can fight without expending his own energy by sending shadows into battle. He can also summon the shadows of creatures he has previously killed, goblins and orcs, forming an entire squad. In just a few days, he transforms from a lone weakling into the leader of his own small but loyal army. After completing his training and completely subjugating the dungeon, Jin Woo decides to return to the real world. He exits through the gate, but a surprise awaits him. Upon exiting the dungeon, Jin Woo encounters not an empty square, but a group of hunters led by an imposing man. This is Cho Jong-in, head of one of Korea's top guilds, the White Tiger. Choi Jong-in, an experienced and perceptive hunter, immediately notices something amiss. He knows that Jin Woo is the weakest E-rank hunter to have entered a D-rank dungeon. But he comes out unscathed, composed, and with a different look in his eyes. Jong-in begins to ask probing questions, sensing that something is wrong with this guy. Jin Woo has to lie outright and make excuses. The pressure from the powerful hunter is intense. Jin Woo manages to leave, but he realizes that he has attracted unwanted attention. Cho Jong-in remains suspicious, wondering who this mysterious young man really is. Back home, Jin Woo analyzes what has happened. He checks his status, his new skills, and his growing army of shadows, which he can now summon and send to the shadow storage. He comes to a strategic decision. In order to legally raise his status, receive more complex and lucrative assignments, and divert suspicion from himself, he needs to officially raise his hunter rank. To do this, he must retake the exam at the Hunters Association. With the clear goal of passing the exam and obtaining a rank that corresponds to his real strength, Son Jin Woo prepares to step out of the shadows and make a name for himself in the world of hunters. No longer as a victim, but as a hidden force that will surprise everyone, Jin Woo arrives at the Hunters Association to register for the exam to advance his rank. He still wears the mask of the weakest hunter, a polite and inconspicuous guy. In the reception area, he encounters other hunters who also want to advance their rank. Their attitudes range from condescending to downright contemptuous. However, Jin Woo also notices well-known recruiters from major guilds in the crowd, including Cha Hae-in from the Hunter Guild. Their presence indicates the importance of this exam. After gathering the necessary documents, Jin Woo enters the waiting area for examinees, where the atmosphere is tense and competitive. He prepares himself internally, not just to pass, but to rewrite the rules of the game. The first part of the exam begins a written test on knowledge of monsters, tactics, and dungeon history. For Jin Woo, who has always relied on studying to compensate for his weakness, this is the easy part. A cocky hunter sits down next to him and tries to provoke him, claiming that weaklings have no place in this profession. Jin Woo ignores the provocation and calmly finishes the test, one of the first to do so. His composure and confidence are the first small signs to observers that this guy is not who he claims to be. After the test, all participants are taken to the training ground, a real but controlled low-level dungeon where the practical part of the exam will take place. The group of examinees, including Jin Woo, finds themselves in front of the entrance to the D-rank dungeon. The instructor explains the rules. They must demonstrate combat skills, teamwork if desired, and clear the area of monsters. Examiners and recruiters observe the process through cameras. Cha Hae-in, watching the monitors, specifically asks the operators to show the camera on Son Jin Woo more often. Her intuition and Cho Jong-in's report make her suspect that she may see something interesting today. The exam begins, and the hunters enter the dungeon. Jin Woo moves deliberately slowly, staying behind the group and studying the situation. Suddenly, a strange energy anomaly occurs in the dungeon. The walls of the dungeon begin to vibrate, and the magical seals glow with an unnatural red light. Experienced hunters and observers outside immediately realize that something extraordinary is happening. A state of emergency is declared. Due to a rare malfunction, the dungeon's difficulty instantly increases from D rank to A rank. The exits are blocked, and monsters appear inside that are capable of killing even an experienced team of high-ranking hunters. Panic breaks out among the examinees. For them, it is a deadly trap. Jin Woo, finding himself at the epicenter of the disaster, feels cold analytical clarity instead of fear. For him, this is not a disaster, but an unexpected opportunity. Elite monsters begin to roam the dungeon stone warriors, each stronger than any of the examinees. The hunters rush about, their attacks doing no damage. When one of the stone warriors swings to crush the group of confused newbies, a black flash appears. Jin Woo appears in front of the monster with superhuman speed. With one precise punch, he completely smashes the stone warrior's head to pieces. In the ensuing silence, everyone, both inside and outside, freezes in shock. Shock is replaced by chaos. The remaining stone warriors activate. Jin Woo realizes that there is no point in hiding anymore. He looks at the monsters not as a threat, but as prey. Jin Woo gives himself a mental command. Show them. He stops holding back. His body disappears from the spot and reappears next to another monster. Before the eyes of the shocked hunters and observers, he carries out a cold and methodical slaughter. The stone warriors, considered impenetrable, are blown to pieces by his blows. He uses no weapons, only his fists and feet, demonstrating speed and strength beyond any known scale. This is not a fight, it is a demonstration of absolute superiority. He destroys the last monster with particular cruelty, leaving no room for doubt. After that, he calmly turns to the other examinees. His face is emotionless. His clothes are not even wrinkled. The dungeon is cleared. The gates open. Shocked, dirty, and wounded examinees come out, followed by the impeccably clean and calm Sun Jin Woo. In the observation room, there is dead silence, followed by an explosion of discussion. Cha Hae-in cannot hide her shock. The examiners are in a panic, not knowing how to evaluate what they have just seen. Jin Woo himself silently approaches the table and asks if the exam counts. His utter calm amid the general chaos chills the soul. The news of the monster among men who single-handedly destroyed the A-rank dungeon spreads instantly throughout all the guilds. A real hunt for Jin Woo begins on the part of recruiters. Jin Woo tries to quietly go home, but Cha Hae-in catches up with him. She offers him the most favorable terms to join the Hunter Guild immediately. Their dialogue shows a sharp change in Jin Woo's status. He is no longer a supplicant, but a valuable asset. He politely but firmly declines the immediate offer, saying that he wants to officially receive his new rank first. This confidence and self-control impress Cha Hae-in even more than his strength in battle. While Jin Woo is enjoying his first real meal at a nice restaurant, with money from selling his loot, he is approached by an even more persistent and dangerous recruiter, Choi Jong-in himself. Choi Jong-in, rude and straightforward, sits down at his table without invitation. He offers fabulous money and status, but in an ultimatum form, trying to pressure him with his authority. Jin Woo does not succumb to pressure. He holds the gaze of the powerful hunter and refuses just as firmly. A hidden battle of wills flares up between them. Jong-in openly threatens, hinting that in the world of hunters, talent that has not found patronage can be broken. This is the first direct threat to Jin Woo from a major power. Realizing that he may now have more enemies than friends, Jin Woo decides to accelerate his plans. He immediately goes to receive his exam results and new rank. The association welcomes him with obsequiousness. The director of the ranks department personally hands him a new ID card. In the rank column there is no letter, but the inscription: unknown, undefined. The explanation states that his power indicators, according to sensor data during the incident, exceed the standard ranges of ranks S, A, B, etc. To such an extent that the system cannot classify him. He becomes a unique phenomenon in the history of the association. This is an official status that sets him apart from the crowd. With the rank of unknown, Jin Woo now has access to any assignment. He chooses his first official assignment in his new status, investigating a series of mysterious disappearances at a hospital, from which teams of C and B rank hunters have not returned. Jin Woo arrives at an abandoned hospital that has become a dungeon. The place radiates an unnatural, ominous aura, even for a dungeon. An oppressive silence reigns inside. He finds no monsters, but traces of a brutal and swift massacre. Arrows stuck in the walls, broken weapons, but no bodies or blood. It seems that the previous teams were not killed, but taken away without a trace. The danger here is not physical, but almost mystical in nature. Moving deeper inside, Jin Woo finds the sole survivor, a hunter who is in a state of complete catatonic terror. He mumbles incoherently about puppets and strings. In the heart of the hospital, in the operating room, Jin Woo finds the source of evil. It is not a monster beast, but a humanoid creature dressed as an old surgeon, the puppet master. Around him, like dolls, lie the bodies of the missing hunters, entangled in magical threads. The puppeteer explains his philosophy. He hates brute force and values the art of control. He offers Jin Woo the chance to voluntarily become his best puppet, admiring his body. This is a fundamentally new type of enemy, an intellectual one who uses mind control magic rather than direct attack. Jin Woo refuses with contempt. The puppeteer flies into a rage and sets his puppets in motion, subordinate hunters whom Jin Woo is now forced to attack. Jin Woo has to fight the reanimated bodies of hunters. He doesn't want to kill them. They are victims, but he can't just dodge them either. They attack on their master's orders. Jin Woo demonstrates not only strength, but also precise control. He takes out the puppets by breaking their limbs or immobilizing them, but without delivering fatal blows. He literally breaks through the ranks, trying to minimize damage to the innocent. This shows the development of his character strength does not erase his humanity. Having cleared the way, Jin Woo furiously rushes at the puppeteer himself. The latter, however, has no intention of fighting hand-to-hand and summons his elite magical monster puppets. The puppeteer summons large, ugly puppet monsters. Jin Woo realizes that the fistfight will drag on. For the first time in a real battle in front of people, although there are no human witnesses, he utters the words, "Rise up." Igoril emerges from the shadows at his feet, followed by several shadows of orcs and goblins. The army of shadows clashes with the army of puppets. It is a battle between two types of necromancy, the innate power of the Lord of Shadows against the acquired magic of the puppeteer. Igoril easily destroys the elite puppets. The puppeteer master is in a panic. Jin Woo slowly walks towards him to finish him off. Jin Woo defeats the puppeteer. At the moment of death, he cries out about the great king and predicts the demise of all hunters. After the victory, Jin Woo notices that this boss did not have the usual mana stone. Instead, a strange stone of souls dropped. The system identifies it as a special item. Most importantly, Jin Woo uses the shadow skill on the puppeteer's body. A shadow rises from it, but not in the form of a monster, but in human form, retaining its mind and memory, the shadow of a mage. The puppeteer's shadow kneels before its new master. Jin Woo realizes that he has gained not just a soldier, but a valuable strategic asset, an intellect with knowledge of magic, and, possibly, of the mysterious Great King. Jin Woo leaves the hospital. Outside, he is met by a group of hunters led by a representative of the association, who came to help after learning about the dungeon's rank. When he emerges unscathed, followed by the rescued but incapacitated hunters, his status skyrockets. He is not just a strong loner, he is a savior who has accomplished the impossible. Rumors of the unknown hunter who single-handedly storms A-rank dungeons and rescues people spread throughout the community. Now the attention of the entire nation is focused on him. While he rests, his shadows train in the treasure vault, and his sister Son Ji-hyo begins to notice strange changes in her brother and hear snippets of information about the mysterious hero in the news. Jin Woo checks his status. He receives a huge reward for the task, and his level has increased significantly. But the system has a new challenge in store for him. Instead of the daily task, a personalized quest appears with the title, Power Beyond the Law. The conditions are vague, but the reward is specified, a new class skill. The system ceases to be just a simulator. It begins to lead him on a predetermined path to something greater. To complete this quest and continue his growth, Jin Woo decides to look for the most difficult and deadly task available. He sets his sights on a place of significance for Korea Jeju Island, a double S-rank dungeon where, several years ago, a squad of elite hunters, including the legendary foreign hunter Cha Hae-in, perished. Jin Woo arrives at the association and, without hesitation, requests information on Jeju Island. The employees try to dissuade him, calling it the grave of S-ranks. Their words only strengthen his resolve. He realizes that only there, in the most dangerous place, will he find worthy opponents for the power that transcends the law. His calm persistence frightens the employees more than hysteria. He officially takes on the task of investigating or clearing Jeju Island, causing a new wave of shock in the community. The news that the unknown is going to Jeju reaches the ears of all the top players. Cha Hae-in, personally connected to this tragedy, makes a decision. Cha Hae-in finds Jin Woo. She does not try to recruit him, but offers him a temporary contract and alliance. The Hunter Guild will provide logistics, transportation, information, and support for the raid on Jeju. In return, they will receive a share of the loot and the opportunity to recover the bodies of the dead, including her father's body. This is the first adult business proposal Jin Woo has encountered. He sees Cha Hae-in as a serious and intelligent partner, not a supplicant. He agrees, realizing that it will be difficult to reach the island and evacuate on his own. This is a step from being a loner to becoming the leader of the operation. Preparations begin for the most dangerous mission of his life. Jin Woo checks and strengthens his army of shadows, realizing that he will need all his power on Jeju. Jin Woo spends his time in the treasure vault, watching his army train. The shadows fight each other, honing their skills. The puppeteer's shadow, whom he calls Igris, provides him with analytical information. He upgrades his army, dismissing the weaker, lower-ranked shadows goblins, and keeping only the elite. E-gorilla, troll, several strong orcs, and Igris. He realizes that quality is more important than quantity. His shadows are now a special forces unit, not a mob. He himself meditates, focusing on the upcoming quest. The Hunter Guild's ship sails towards the Forbidden Island. Son Jin Woo stands on the deck, watching the approaching fog. Behind him, invisible to everyone, his loyal soldiers wait in his shadow for their moment. The great trial begins. The Hunter Guild ship approaches Jeju Island. The island is shrouded in an unnatural, impenetrable fog. Cha Hae-in shares the latest data with Jin Woo. Inside is a double S-rank dungeon inhabited by insect-like monsters of monstrous strength. Upon disembarking, the group immediately senses an oppressive atmosphere of death. The remains of equipment and gear from an expedition that perished years ago lie scattered everywhere. Jin Woo orders his small team of guild hunters to hold the entrance, while he himself prepares to enter the dungeon alone. His authority and confidence leave them no room for argument. Jin Woo enters the main gate of the dungeon. Inside, he finds not just a horde of monsters, but an entire insectoid world, teeming with life on all levels of a giant hive. Almost immediately, he is attacked by giant soldier ants, A-rank monsters. There are many of them, and they attack in a coordinated manner. Jin Woo wastes no time. He utters the word "rise" and releases his elite team of shadows. E-gorilla, troll, Igris, and the elite orcs. A swift and merciless purge begins. The shadows work like a well-oiled machine. E-gorilla cuts down enemies, troll breaks them, and Igris supports them with magic. Jin Woo watches, analyzing the enemy's weak points. Having easily dealt with the first wave, he advances deeper. Suddenly, larger and more dangerous monsters appear. Ant commanders, level S, followed by flying insect scouts who begin to call for reinforcements. Jin Woo faces several ant commanders at once. Their armor is stronger, their attacks more deadly. For the first time, his shadows encounter worthy opposition. Jin Woo decides to act on his own. He demonstrates a new level of personal power. His speed is such that he leaves sonic booms behind him, and his blows break through the commander's impenetrable armor like eggshells. He doesn't just defeat them, he humiliates their power, showing the absolute gap in their levels. After the battle, He uses the shadow skill on the bodies of the ant commanders. The process is difficult, but successful. His army is replenished with the first S-rank shadows, huge, ferocious insect shadows. Now, he has his own S-level striking force. Breaking through to the very depths of the hive, Jin Woo finds the source of the entire colony, the Queen Mother, Ant Queen. She is a monstrous creature that constantly produces new ants. Next to her is her personal guard, elite monsters. The Queen is not just a monster. She shows signs of intelligence. She communicates with Jin Woo telepathically, calling him an intruder and a threat to the nest. She also utters a key phrase, "Your power." It smells like the Lord. This is the first reference to the higher powers behind the monsters. The battle with the Queen and her guard begins. This is Jin Woo's most massive battle to date. His army of shadows converges in an epic battle with the elite of the insectoid race. In the midst of the battle with the Queen, the earth shakes. The wall of the hive collapses, and the true ruler of the island appears, the Lord of the Giants, Jaematu, a giant humanoid monster of incredible strength. The Queen was merely his farm. The Lord knocks Igoril away with a single blow and crushes several shadows. His strength is an order of magnitude greater than anything Jin Woo has ever seen. Jin Woo himself, after attempting to strike, realizes that his attacks do almost no damage. For the first time in a long time, he faces an opponent who is physically stronger than him. Jin Woo retreats, his army suffering losses. He realizes that in order to win, he must not only fight, but also fulfill the conditions of his personal quest, power beyond the law. The quest is activated, and the system gives him clear instructions. The system requires him to sacrifice a significant portion of his shadow army in order to gain access to the new form. It is a painful choice. His shadows are his main strength and almost like allies. Seeing the Lord of Giants methodically destroy his soldiers, Jin Woo makes his decision. He orders most of his shadows, including the recently acquired ant commanders, to self-destruct, dissolving into his own shadow. The energy released from this sacrifice envelops him. A new Jin Woo emerges from the swirling darkness. His appearance changes, his hair lightens, his eyes glow with an amethyst flame, and his body is covered with patterns of shadow energy. This is his awakened form, the Shadow Monarch. In his new form, Jin Woo feels unlimited power. His stats are off the charts. He sees the Lord of Giants not as a threat, but as prey. The battle begins on a completely different level. Jin Woo moves so fast that he disappears from view. His blows now wound the monster, tearing off pieces of flesh. He demonstrates absolute dominance. The Lord of Giants, once an invincible titan, now looks like a helpless toy in the hands of the true monarch. At the decisive moment, Jin Woo uses his new ability, Monarch's Power, and pierces the Lord's core with one crushing blow, ending the battle. The Lord of Giants is defeated. Jin Woo absorbs his shadow, gaining the most powerful soldier at the moment, the shadow of the Lord, Ganta. Jin Woo's level jumps dramatically. At the moment of the monster's death, the voice of the system appears in Jin Woo's mind, but this time, it is not an impersonal interface. He is spoken to by an entity calling itself Archdemon, or Tenant. It praises him for his progress and reveals a shocking truth. The system is an artificial construct created to make him a perfect weapon in the coming war against some S-rank gates and their masters. He is not a player, but a pawn in someone else's game. Jin Woo is furious and confused. He demands answers, but the tenant just smiles and says that the truth will be revealed when he becomes strong enough. The quest Power Beyond the Law is complete, and he gains a new skill, but the taste of victory is poisoned. Jin Woo emerges from the dungeon. All around him is silence. The monsters of the island, deprived of their leader, have either fled or fallen into apathy. He finds Cha Hae-in's team, who have been waiting for him in terror all this time. He leads them to the epicenter of the hive, where they find the bodies of the dead hunters, including Cha Hae-in's father, preserved by the queen's magic. Jin Woo fulfills his part of the agreement. Cha Hae-in, seeing the extent of the destruction, and realizing that one man has done what a whole group of S-ranks was unable to do, looks at him with gratitude and deep respect, mixed with a slight fear. The news of the complete cleansing of Jeju Island by a single hunter reaches the mainland and causes a global shock in the world hunting community. The name Jin Woo, or the Unknown, becomes legendary. Jin Woo returns a hero. He is greeted as a national treasure. Associations and guilds from all over the world want to contact him. He receives a new special status, National Hunter. At the press conference, he is modest but confident. However, his eyes reveal a cold determination. He knows the truth about the system and understands that his true goal is not glory, but survival in the coming war. The reactions of other top hunters in the world are shown in parallel, including Thomas Andre, an American S-rank hunter, who watches his new competitor with interest. While Jin Woo is adjusting to fame, the Tenant gives him a new, even more challenging quest related to the approaching S-rank gate. Jin Woo begins intensive preparations, building up his army and his personal power. Jin Woo, having become a national hero, receives numerous offers, but his primary personal goal is to raise money for his mother's treatment. Now, with the colossal fees, he can afford the best clinic. He transfers his mother to the most advanced hospital with magical healers. The doctors give a cautious but encouraging prognosis. Her coma is magical in nature, and there is a chance she will awaken. This is the first ray of true hope in his life, unrelated to power and destruction. Having found peace of mind regarding his family, Jin Woo can fully focus on the global threat. He delves into the prophecies of the highest S-rank gate. Jin Woo studies the soul stone dropped by the puppet master. Using Igris's shadow, he activates it. The stone shows him visions, an ancient war, the fall of civilizations, and the awakening of the monarchs being similar to the giant lord but standing above him. The visions reveal that the monarchs are alien invaders who once tried to destroy Earth but were sealed. The gates are the keys to their prison. And the hunters in Mana are part of the planet's defense system, created in response to their invasion. He, as a player in the system, is perhaps the last resort of this defense. Realizing the scale of this, Jin Woo realizes he needs allies. He decides to test and possibly strengthen those who have already proven their reliability. He goes to meet with Cha Hae-in. Jin Woo meets with Cha Hae-in not as employer and mercenary, but as equal partners. He thanks her for her support on Jeju. He makes her an unexpected offer. He will help her become stronger. He sees potential and true willpower in her. For him, this is a strategic move to create a core of loyal and powerful allies, not just subordinates. Cha Hae-in, who has always relied only on herself, is amazed and accepts his offer. Their training begins. Jin Woo doesn't teach her directly, but creates deadly tests for her in controlled environments, forcing her to push her limits, much as he once did. As a special act of trust and repayment, Jin Woo gives Cha He-yi in a shocking gift. He takes her to a closed training ground. He summons the shadow of his most powerful soldier, Gant, the king of giants. But then he says, "Now show your true face." Gant's shadow transforms, and before Cha Hae-in appears a shadow in recognizable armor, the shadow of her father, the legendary hunter, Cha Hae-in Sr., whose body he took from Jeju. Cha Hae-in experiences a flurry of emotions, grief, joy, horror. But her father's shadow, retaining part of his fighting spirit, honors her by bowing its head. Jin Woo challenges her to fight this shadow to overcome her pain and become stronger. This becomes her most difficult and important test. Cha Hae-in battles her father's shadow. It's psychological torture attacking the image of the person she holds most dear. At the critical moment, when the shadow almost defeats her, Cha Hae-in doesn't break. She finds the strength to thank her father for everything and let him go. She delivers the decisive blow, not with anger, but with gratitude and determination to move forward. At that moment, her own abilities evolve. Her magical power sharply increases. She has overcome her main psychological barrier. Jin Woo, watching this, nods approvingly. He sees that his investment has paid off. At that moment, an urgent message arrives from the association. The activation of a high-ranking S-gate has been detected in Central Seoul. A state of emergency is declared throughout Seoul. A gigantic, ominous gate appears over the city, surpassing anything seen before in size and energy. All S-rank hunters in Korea, including Jin Woo, are ordered to assemble. At an emergency meeting, the head of the association reveals the data. Scouts monsters, each possessing power above the average S rank, have already emerged from these gates. They are not attacking randomly, but are behaving like an organized army. It becomes clear. This is not just a raid, but a full-scale invasion. The battle for Seoul, and perhaps for all of Korea, has begun. Jin Woo immediately advances to the epicenter. Along the way, he witnesses destruction and panic. He orders his shadow army to emerge from the shadows and begin evacuating civilians and destroying the monsters on the outskirts. For the first time, his legion is operating openly, in full view of everyone. Jin Woo arrives at the front lines, where all the top-ranking Korean hunters have already gathered. Among them are old acquaintances and new faces. The overall atmosphere is one of grim determination. Command proposes a plan. Unite and storm the gate to seal it from the inside. Jin Woo calmly declares that this plan is doomed, as they don't know what awaits inside. He proposes an alternative. He will enter alone, scout the situation, find the gate's core, and destroy it, while the others hold off the main army of monsters from the outside. His authority is so great that even veterans don't argue. Having received consent, Jin Woo summons his most powerful shadows, Igoril, Gant, and the elite ant commanders. Together with Cha Hae-in, who refuses to stand aside, they are the first to enter the blazing rift of the gigantic gate. Inside the gate lies not a dungeon, but an entire distorted world, the ruins of a gigantic city, debris floating in the bloody sky, rivers of mana. The scale is staggering. They are immediately attacked not by a horde, but by a small but incredibly powerful squad of armored humanoid monsters, Scorpion Knights. Each one is a rank S+ boss. The battle begins immediately. Even Jin Woo's elite shadows are having a hard time. In the midst of the battle with the Knights, a commander appears, the Desert Monarch, Scorpion. He is one of the sovereigns of this world, one of the true monarchs. He looks at Jin Woo with interest, recognizing him as the chosen tenant. The Desert Monarch is in no hurry to attack. He disdainfully assesses the strength of Jin Woo and his shadows. He speaks of the upcoming feast on Earth and calls the hunters sacrificial cattle. Without arguing, Jin Woo transforms into his Shadow Monarch form and attacks first. Their initial clash unleashes energy blasts that destroy the surrounding ruins. Their forces seem relatively evenly matched. The Desert Monarch is surprised by the little man's strength. The monarch decides not to waste time and summons his true form, a giant scorpion of sand and shadow. The battle escalates to the level of titans. Cha Hae-in and the shadows retreat, fighting the knights, realizing they cannot overcome the main confrontation. Jin Woo battles a giant scorpion. Direct attacks cause damage, but not decisively. The monarch uses poison, sand illusions, and teleportation. Jin Woo understands that winning a frontal assault will be time-consuming and costly. He uses his army of shadows, not to attack, but to restrain. The shadows sacrifice themselves, entangling the scorpion's limbs, distracting it. At the decisive moment, Jin Woo uses the skill he learned after Jeju Casus Fang, a piercing attack that ignores part of the monarch's defense. Fang penetrates the armor and wounds the monarch's core. The monarch goes berserk. Jin Woo prepares for the final attack, but at that moment, space distorts, and a second monarch appears. The new monarch, the Beast Monarch. His appearance changes everything. Now Jin Woo is trapped between two beings of equal power. The situation becomes critical. Even in his Shadow Monarch form, he can't hold out long against two such opponents. His shadows suffer massive losses protecting him and Cha Hae-in. For the first time in a long time, he finds himself on the brink of true defeat. As the two monarchs' attacks converge on him, something unexpected happens. The renter's voice rings in his head. It's time to test the true power of a monarch. The system interface flashes, granting access to a new forbidden skill tree. Jin Woo, on the brink of life and death, accepts the system's help. His body is enveloped not simply in darkness, but in absolute emptiness. His amethyst eyes turn completely black. He gains access to the true power of the Shadow Monarch Dominion. This is not just physical strength. It is authority over death itself and the realm of shadows. He issues a single command: kneel. Under the pressure of this absolute power, even the monarchs momentarily freeze, their movements frozen. Scorpion knights and lower-level monsters fall prostrate, unable to resist. Jin Woo exploits this pause. Seizing the moment, Jin Woo focuses all his power not on both monarchs at once, but on the already wounded desert monarch. He uses a combination of skills: Monarch's authority for strength, Cassis's Fang for penetration, and his new ability, Shadow Execution, for the final blow. The attack penetrates all defenses and completely destroys the desert monarch's core. One of the sovereigns is defeated. The beast monarch, seeing his ally's death, retreats not in rage, but with cold calculation, dissolving into space. He understands that the chosen one has become too dangerous and must be dealt with differently. The gate begins to pulse unsteadily. With one monarch dead and another retreating, the invasion loses its core. The remaining monsters are disorganized. Jin Woo, exhausted, falls to one knee. His form dissipates. He has won, but the cost is enormous. Most of his shadow army has been destroyed in this battle. Only the most elite remain: Igoril, Gant, and a few others, and even they are badly damaged. His own mana is depleted. Cha Hae-in, wounded but alive, runs to him. They have accomplished their mission. The gate's core, linked to the desert monarch, has been destroyed. The gate begins to collapse. Jin Woo and Cha Hae-in emerge, where they are greeted as saviors. But Jin Woo feels no sense of triumph. He knows this is only the beginning of the war, and the enemy now knows his strength. The news of the victory over the invasion and the closure of the S-rank gate makes Jin Woo a living legend not only in Korea, but around the world. His name is front-page news. At a debriefing with the country's and the army's top leadership, he is treated with the utmost respect. He is offered a formal position and unlimited resources. However, Jin Woo refuses administrative authority. He asks for only one thing: complete freedom of action and access to all information about the gate and monsters worldwide. His goal is a global threat hunt. While Jin Woo rebuilds his forces and army, the world stage is in flux. Other countries, terrified by what happened in Seoul, begin to seek ways to acquire or control their own superpower. Jin Woo receives offers from the US, China, Japan, and Europe. Everyone wants to see him. The most persistent is the American hunter Thomas Andre, who flies to Seoul in person. The meeting between Thomas Andre and Seong Jin Woo is a clash of two titans. Thomas, the world's most physically powerful hunter, is assertive and arrogant, testing Jin Woo's mettle. Jin Woo responds with cool, calm, and undeniable authority, eventually forcing even Thomas to show respect. Thomas offers him a place in his guild, Silla, under special conditions. Jin Woo politely but firmly declines, saying that his war is not just one country's. This meeting demonstrates that Jin Woo is now a player on the global chessboard, and his next opponent could be not only monsters, but also greedy humans. Jin Woo plunges into training once again. He realizes that his shadow army is his greatest asset, and it needs to be not just restored, but made stronger than ever. He uses his new status to access prisons for especially dangerous boss monsters that various guilds have captured but failed to kill. Under the guise of recycling, he visits these vaults and kills powerful monsters one by one, replenishing his army with unique and powerful shadows, each with special abilities: mage, werewolf, elemental, etc. His army becomes not just large, but diverse and tactically flexible. At this point, the renter gives him a new quest, not related to monsters, but to artifacts of an ancient civilization scattered throughout the world. Following the quest, Jin Woo travels to various locations across the planet desert ruins, ancient jungle temples. Traps and guards await him everywhere, but nothing can stop him. He collects parts of some device or key. The renter explains that these are constellation chalices, artifacts created by the ancients to control the planet's mana. Whoever collects them all will gain incredible power, but will also attract the attention of the most fearsome creatures. Jin Woo realizes he's participating in an arms race against the monarchs. While he collects the artifacts, his main human antagonist operates in the shadows. Choi Jong-i, the leader of the White Tiger Guild, finally decides that Jin Woo's uncontrollable power is more dangerous than some monsters. He begins his own preparations. While Jin Woo is abroad, Choi Jong-in holds secret meetings with other influential guilds and politicians, dissatisfied with the growing influence of the national hunter. Jong-in advances the idea that Jin Woo is a human weapon of mass destruction that could spiral out of control at any moment. He proposes creating a deterrent force and placing him under strict surveillance, neutralizing him if he resists. This resonates with those who fear or envy Jin Woo. Jin Woo is placed under surveillance. Upon returning to Korea, he senses a change in the atmosphere around him. The enemy is no longer just within the gate, but also here, among those he protects. Jin Woo returns to Seoul. His first order of business is visiting his sister and mother in the hospital. His mother is stable, but not yet awake. His sister, Ji-hyo, shares her suspicions with him. Someone has been following her, and strange questions about him were being asked at the hospital. Jin Woo freezes inside. His family is his only vulnerability, and someone dared to touch it. His rage is cold and boundless. He assigns his most stealthy and cunning shadows, like the shadow of some monster scout, to secretly guard his family 24/7. He then begins an investigation to find out who is behind this. The trail leads to the White Tiger Guild. Jin Woo doesn't immediately resort to confrontation. He invites Choi Jong-in to a private meeting. The meeting takes place on neutral territory, but the atmosphere is tense. Jin Woo doesn't shout or threaten. He speaks calmly and clearly, looking Jong-in straight in the eye. His message is simple. I know what you're doing. Touch my family again, and I will wipe not only you, but everything you've built from the face of the earth. Your guild, your name, your legacy will vanish as if they never existed. This is not a threat. It's a promise. His sheer, bone-chilling intent makes even the ruthless Jong-in momentarily doubt his plan. Jin Woo leaves, leaving Jong-in lost in thought. However, the leader of the White Tiger is too proud to back down. He decides he must act faster and more forcefully. Meanwhile, the tenant announces that all the constellation chalices have been collected, and the time has come for the final act of preparation before the decisive war. Jin Woo must undergo the final, most terrifying trial in a special dungeon created by the system itself. The tenant announces that all the constellation chalices have been collected. Now Jin Woo must pass the final test before accessing their true power. The system creates a special dungeon, inaccessible to others, Jin's Honor Temple. Jin Woo enters the temple. There are no monsters inside. Instead, illusory copies of those he couldn't save appear before him. His original guildmates who died in the double dungeon. Other hunters. The system is testing not his strength, but his spirit, his resolve, and his willingness to bear the burden of the past. He must endure this hell of memories without breaking. After enduring tormenting visions and accepting his guilt without allowing it to paralyze him, Jin Woo reaches the center of the temple. There, not a reward awaits him, but the final guardian, a mirrored shadow of his former, weak self. The shadow of a weak Jin Woo doesn't attack. It speaks to him, drawing out all his fears and doubts. You became a monster for power. You use the dead. What's left of you? Jin Woo doesn't deny it. He admits, yes, he has changed. He's become colder, harder. He walks the line. But he does this not for power, but for protection. For his mother, his sister, Cha He-ying, for everyone who now depends on him. His power is not a gift, but a responsibility. With this realization, he doesn't attack the shadow, but embraces it, absorbing it as part of himself. It is an act of complete self-acceptance. The shadow dissolves, and an altar is revealed in the center of the temple. The collected constellation chalices burn upon it. The tenant votes that the test has been passed. Jin Woo approaches to claim his reward, the true power of the Shadow Monarch. The constellation chalices merge into a single shining artifact, the Infinity Core, or Shadow Heart. The tenant explains, it is the source of power of the ancient Shadow Lord, the first and most powerful of the monarchs, who once rebelled against his kind to protect the human world and was betrayed. Jin Woo absorbs the core. His body undergoes a quantum leap. This is not just a level up, it is a qualitative transformation. He receives the title Shadow Heir. His connection to the shadow world becomes absolute. He feels each of his shadows as an extension of his body, can see through their eyes anywhere in the world, and draw mana from them. His personal attributes no longer have a numerical value. They are transcendental. Leaving the temple, Jin Woo feels the world around him change. He senses the magical currents of the planet, and he senses the presence of other monarchs hiding on Earth. The hunt begins in earnest. Using his newfound sensitivity, Jin Woo scans the planet. His gaze is drawn to one spot: Japan. One of the monarchs is hiding there, disguised as a powerful lone hunter. He doesn't inform the association. He understands that ordinary hunters are powerless against such a foe, and warning them would only cause panic. He decides to act alone and secretly. His goal is to eliminate the threat before it manifests itself. He becomes a shadow, hunting shadows. Under the guise of fulfilling an international contract, Jin Woo flies to Japan. He is met by a local guild, unaware of the true purpose of his visit. Jin Woo, disguised as a tourist and exchange hunter, studies the target. The monarch, hiding under the name Kamushi, has an impeccable cover story. He is a hero who saved Tokyo from a major invasion several years ago. Jin Woo tracks Kamushi down and arranges a chance meeting. Their eyes meet. No words are exchanged. An instant mental duel ensues between them. Kamushi realizes he has been exposed. Jin Woo realizes this monarch is not a coward like Scorpio, but a cool-headed strategist. They part ways, knowing a battle is inevitable. Kamushi, to avoid compromising his cover, invites Jin Woo to meet for a private conversation on neutral territory, a randomly generated high-ranking dungeon outside the city. Jin Woo agrees. Two powerful beings meet in an empty dungeon, resembling an endless library. Kamushi, revealing his true identity as the monarch of curses, or schemes, doesn't attack immediately. He tries to negotiate. He tells Jin Woo his side of the story. The Shadow Sovereign, whose legacy Jin Woo now bears, was not a hero, but a traitor to their race, condemning the monarchs to imprisonment. He offers Jin Woo not to fight, but to join them, ruling the human world as equal gods. He plays on their ambitions and offers power. Jin Woo listens silently and then gives his answer. You call yourselves gods, but all you bring is death and slavery. I have seen what you do. My answer is no. His refusal is not simply a moral choice. It is a declaration of war on their entire species. The cursed monarch attacks first. His weapons are not physical strength, but curses, blood magic, spatial and mental manipulation. He attempts to bind Jin Woo, to make him doubt, to weaken him. Jin Woo demonstrates that his new power ignores low-level magic. Curses dissipate before reaching him. He unleashes direct, crushing force, breaking spatial traps with a single blow. His will is so strong that mental attacks bounce off him. He demonstrates that he has evolved beyond the limits of mere magical combat. The cursed monarch, seeing the futility of his sophisticated attacks, decides to play his last trump card. He sacrifices part of his life force to activate the ancient seal that was supposed to restrain the Shadow Sovereign. He attempts to seal Jin Woo's power itself. The seal works. Jin Woo's shadow power fades momentarily. He feels the connection with his army sever, and his own energy fade. The monarch is triumphant. At this critical moment, the Renter's voice sounds not like a prompt, but like a command. Remember who you are. You are a shadow that absorbs light. You are the heir. This seal is but a spark before your darkness. Absorb it. Jin Woo, trusting his instincts, does not resist the seal, but rather unleashes his inner power so much that he begins to absorb the seal itself. The dark chains do not bind him, but dissolve within his body, nourishing him. The monarch of curses retreats in horror. His last hope has been shattered. Jin Woo, glowing with absorbed energy, rises. His power has grown even greater. He looks upon the monarch as prey. Jin Woo transforms into the Shadow Heir form. His attacks now deliver not only physical destruction, but also the dissolution of the enemy's very essence. The battle loses its dramatic element. It's an execution. Jin Woo demonstrates absolute superiority. In his final move, he pierces the cursed monarch's chest and tears out his essence core. a glowing crystal resembling a miniaturized infinity core. The monarch is defeated. Jin Woo absorbs his shadow, creating the first shadow monarch in his army, a being with the intellect, memory, and magical abilities of the deceased. This is an unprecedented enhancement, but at the moment of death, the monarch sends a final mental flash of warning to his fellow kin. The heir has awakened. He is here. The death of the cursed monarch causes a ripple effect in the Earth's magical field. All the remaining monarchs, hiding in various countries, sense it simultaneously. They realize they can no longer hide. They begin to act openly. Dozens of high-rank S-level gates are simultaneously activated across the globe. This is not a test invasion like in Seoul, but the beginning of a full-scale war. Armies of monsters emerge from the surface in America, Europe, Russia, and Africa. The world is plunged into chaos within hours. Jin Woo, still in Japan, sees the news. He realizes his actions have hastened the apocalypse. But there was no other way. He immediately contacts Cha Hae-in and the Korean Association, issuing the order. General mobilization. The war has begun. Hold the line. I'm returning. Jin Woo uses his new ability Shadow Teleportation to instantly return to Seoul. The city prepares for defense, but panic is growing. He arrives directly at the command post. His appearance gives hope to the hunters. He doesn't make grand speeches. He gives clear, cold orders, distributing forces along the perimeter. Then he addresses the guild leaders, including the grim Choi Jong-in. Personal scores are for later. Now, we either all die or we all live. Choose. Having consolidated command under his command, Jin Woo advances to the largest gate above Seoul. He doesn't wait for an attack. He plans a counteroffensive. He takes Cha Hae-in and his elite shadow squad, the monarchs, with him. Jin Woo and his group are the first to breach the main gate above Seoul. Inside, there's not a world, but a gigantic throne room. They're already waiting for him. He's met not by a horde, but by 3 figures. These are the monarchs coordinating the invasion of Asia. The monarch of giants, already familiar. The monarch of beasts, who retreated earlier. And a new one, the monarch of phoenixes, or flames. They represent the quintessence of power, strength, fury, and immortal flame. 3 against 1 and a group. Jin Woo assesses the situation. He realizes this is the most dangerous battle of his life. But there's no fear in his eyes, only calculation. He orders his shadow monarchs, Igoril, Gantu, and the shadow of the monarch of curses to take up positions. The clash of the titans begins. Split up tactics. Inception. Facing 3 monarchs head-on at once is suicidal. Jin Woo employs a tactic. He commands his army of shadows, including regular ones, to attack en masse, creating chaos. In the confusion, he uses speed and teleportation to single out one monarch from the group, the most aggressive, the beast monarch. He lures it into a separate arena within the throne room, created by the cursed monarch's shadow magic. His plan is to attack them individually, preventing them from combining their efforts. Cha Hae-in and the elite shadows hold off the remaining 2 monarchs at incredible cost. The main confrontation unfolds between Jin Woo and the enraged beast monarch. The phoenix's attack catches Jin Woo off guard. Flames capable of burning even souls scorch him, causing him serious injuries. Seeing its master in danger, the shadow of Cha Hae-in Sr., the father, acting of its own accord, throws itself between Jin Woo and the torrent of flames. The shadow, vulnerable to the sacred fire, begins to dissolve, but manages to shield him for critical seconds. This sacrifice by the shadow soldier demonstrates that shadows are not soulless puppets, but beings with a vestige of will and devotion. Using this sacrifice as cover, Jin Woo, enraged by the loss of a valuable soldier, counterattacks. He directs all the power intended for the beast monarch at the phoenix monarch. A decisive blow, Casus Feng, empowered by rage, pierces the phoenix's fiery heart. The phoenix monarch is defeated, its flame extinguished. However, its nature is such that it initiates the phoenix's rebirth from the ashes. Jin Woo prevents it. He uses an ability inherited from the monarch of curses, Curse of Eternal Oblivion. He places a curse on the phoenix's core, blocking its rebirth. The Phoenix is finally defeated. Turning around, Jin Woo finishes off the weakened and shocked Beast Monarch's ally, absorbing his shadow. Within minutes, 2 monarchs have fallen. Only the giant monarch, Jae-matu, and the exhausted Cha Hae-in with the remaining shadows remain in the hall. The giant, seeing the outcome, does not flee. He prepares for the final battle. The giant monarch, Jin Woo's very first boss of this level, now seems less threatening, but he is still incredibly powerful. Jin Woo, wounded but not broken, fights him. This is no longer a battle of survival, but of total annihilation. Jin Woo displays his entire arsenal: teleportation, shackles, direct strikes. He demonstrates how far he has come since their first encounter on Jeju. The giant, losing, desperately attempts to detonate itself, destroying everything around it. Jin Woo anticipates this. He uses his shadow absorber ability to absorb the released energy into his shadow storage at the moment of explosion. The giant vanishes without causing any final damage. Jin Woo absorbs its shadow as well. The battle is over. The throne room is destroyed. The Soul Gate, deprived of its anchor in the form of the monarchs, begins to collapse. Cha Hae-in, barely able to stand, looks at Jin Woo. Jin Woo stands amid the ruins, surrounded by the shadows of the 3 fallen monarchs, who now kneel before him. He has won, but there is no joy on his face, only endless fatigue and cold. He saved Seoul, but the world burns. He understands that this is just one battle in an endless war. His army is stronger than ever, but he feels the weight of every soul consumed. Emerging from the gate as a victor, he sees the jubilant people and hunters, but his gaze is fixed on the horizon, where the glow of other battles is visible. The tenant speaks in his head. Congratulations. You have proven yourself worthy of being a tool. Prepare yourself. Soon he will come, the most powerful of the monarchs, the king of the underworld. News that Jin Woo single-handedly destroyed 3 monarchs and closed the gate over Seoul spreads across the planet. He becomes a symbol of hope for all of humanity and the primary target for the remaining monarchs. An emergency virtual summit is convened within the Global Hunter Network. The leaders of all countries and guilds appeal to Jin Woo. They recognize him as the supreme commander of all Earth Hunter forces. From now on, his orders will be law. Choi Jong-in is forced to publicly bow his head. Jin Woo accepts this role, but sets his own conditions: absolute obedience and an end to any internal squabbles. He is no longer a soldier, but a general preparing for the final battle. Having assumed supreme command, Jin Woo issues his first order. All forces are to go on the strategic defensive, to hold back rather than counterattack. His goal is to buy time. He, strengthened by the shadows of the 3 monarchs, sets out on his final journey into the very heart of danger, to find and destroy the king of the underworld before he fully enters our world. The war enters its final phase. Having assumed supreme command, Jin Woo holds an emergency meeting with the leaders of all guilds. Intelligence from around the world is terrifying. The monarchs are coordinating attacks, and human forces are retreating everywhere. Jin Woo announces his plan. While all Earth forces maintain a holding defense, he and an elite squad, Cha Hae-in and his most powerful monarch shadows, will carry out a targeted sabotage. His goal is not simply to close the gate, but to find and destroy the king of the underworld, the Beast King, the chief strategist and most powerful monarch. He believes that without a leader, the invasion will crumble. The plan is desperate, but there is no other way. Using information obtained from the shadows of the defeated monarchs, Jin Woo calculates the likely location of the king's lair, the Twin Gates in Antarctica, where the magical background is most unstable. Jin Woo's team flies to the South Pole on a supersonic military jet. Along the way, they witness the world burning, ruined cities, battles between magic and the sky. On the plane, a crucial conversation takes place between Jin Woo and Cha Hae-in. She asks him what he will do after the war, if they survive. He remains silent because he doesn't know the answer. He has become a weapon of war, and peaceful life is an abstraction for him. This dialogue highlights his psychological isolation and loss of connection with ordinary humanity. The plane reaches Antarctica, They are greeted not by a simple dungeon, but by a gigantic, pulsating black sphere, the core of the invasion, from which hordes of monsters emerge. The defenses are incredibly powerful. Jin Woo orders the pilots to retreat. He and his group parachute directly onto the ice field in front of the sphere. A legion of elite guardian monsters immediately descends upon them. Jin Woo fully deploys his army of shadow monarchs for the first time. Igoril, Gant, Lord of Giants, the shadow of the cursed monarch, the shadows of the beast monarch, and the phoenix appear in all their might. An epic battle of the legions begins. This is not just a fight, but a show of force, designed to break through any defense. Jin Woo's shadows sweep away the first defenders. The noise of battle attracts more powerful creatures. The Netherworld King's personal generals emerge from the sphere, 3 beings, each stronger than a normal monarch. Jin Woo realizes he must overcome them. 3 generals, a warrior, a mage, and an assassin surround Jin Woo. Cha Hae-ying and the shadows distract the main army, leaving him free to duel. Jin Woo fights them one by one, exploiting their weaknesses. Against the warrior, he uses his speed and shadow shackles. Against the mage, his ability to absorb magic. And against the assassin, his absolute sensitivity to any movement in the shadows. These are 3 short but extremely intense battles, demonstrating his skill and adaptability. Having defeated the generals, Jin Woo approaches the blackest sphere. A gate opens before him, as if inviting him in. He orders Cha Hae-yin to wait outside in case he is forced to retreat. He enters the king's lair alone. Inside the sphere is not a dungeon, but an entire inverted universe with a black sun and a crimson sky. In the center, on a throne of bones and shadows, sits the king of the underworld. He doesn't look like a monster. He appears as a weary, majestic warrior in dark armor. The king doesn't attack. He greets Jin Woo as an equal. He says he's been waiting a long time for the heir. He invites him to sit and listen to the truth the tenant has been hiding from him. Jin Woo, sensing something amiss, agrees. The king begins his story. He reveals a story that completely changes the perception of everything that's happening. The king explains that he and the other monarchs are not alien invaders. They are the original rulers of Earth, beings born from the planet's mana eons ago. Before humans existed, humans appeared later as parasites without magic. But then, by the will of certain higher beings, lords, humans were given the hunter system and mana to serve as bargaining chips in a war between the lords themselves. The monarchs was sealed, and their world destroyed to give humans a chance. The war between hunters and monsters is merely a bloody spectacle for the amusement of the higher beings, and Earth is their arena. Jin Woo is shocked. He asks who the tenant is then. The king smirks and says that the tenant is one of these lords, and Jin Woo himself is his stake in this game. His system is designed to make him the ultimate weapon, one that will bring victory to its master. Jin Woo, shocked, tries to comprehend what he's heard. Everything he's fought for saving the people turns out to be part of someone else's plan. The king makes him an offer. Instead of being the sovereign's pawn, they can unite. Jin Woo's power, as the Shadow Heir and the king's army, will be able to overthrow the sovereigns, end their game, and free both the monarchs and the people. The king proposes not the destruction of humanity, but an alliance of the 2 races to fight the true enemy. This is the most difficult moral choice of Jin Woo's life. He asks for time to think. At that moment, the voice of the tenant breaks into his mind, ordering him to kill the king immediately, calling everything he said a lie. Jin Woo finds himself between 2 titans. He must decide whom to trust, the being who has given him power for years but clearly manipulated him, or his sworn enemy, whose story is all too plausible. Jin Woo makes a choice. He shuts down the system interface in his head. For a moment, he feels empty, a loss of connection to his power. He tells the tenant, "I am no longer your puppet." It is an act of absolute free will. The tenant is furious. He declares that if Jin Woo fails to fulfill his role, he will find another player. The interface disappears, but Jin Woo's power is not lost. It has become his own. He turns to the king and says he is ready to hear the details of his plan. The king, nodding respectfully, explains the mechanics. The overlords observe the world through the sphere of providence, an artifact hidden in another dimension. To challenge them, they must penetrate it. To do this, they must combine the king's power, absolute mastery of the lair's space, and Jin Woo's power, absolute mastery of shadows, to create the key. The king proposes a temporary, complete fusion of their consciousnesses and powers, an incredibly risky undertaking. Jin Woo agrees. They begin the ritual. A vortex of magic surrounds their bodies. Cha Hae-in senses a colossal surge of energy from the outside and is unaware of what is happening within. During the fusion, Jin Woo sees the king's memories, the ancient beautiful earth, the war with the overlords, the betrayal of the shadow overlord, who became the tenant, and his imprisonment. The key is created. But at that very moment, space is torn apart. The tenant, shadow overlord, materializes in the lair in his true form, a gigantic, multi-eyed entity of pure darkness. He has come to personally eliminate the rogue pawn. His servants appear with him, other overlords, observing the events. A battle that should never have occurred begins. The united Jin Woo and the King of Hell, against a host of overlords, the true gods of this world. The overlords attack, their powers distorting reality itself. They aren't simply strong, they manipulate the laws of physics and magic within their sphere of influence. Jin Woo and the king, united, form something new, a being that combines the fury of the earth, the king, and the absolute darkness, the air. They attack not with magic, but with concepts. Jin Woo delivers strikes that devour existence, and the king shatters the space in which the overlords exist. This is a battle at the level of fundamental forces. They defeat several lesser overlords. But the overlord, the tenant, proves far stronger. He separates their fusion with a powerful blow. Jin Woo and the king, wounded, are thrown apart. The tenant focuses on the king, considering him the main threat. He begins to erase him. Realizing they won't win in open combat, the king makes a decision. He shouts at Jin Woo, "Use the key, open the door, I'll give you time." The king then concentrates all his remaining life and power in a single act. He tightly binds the tenant and the other overlords in a dimensional trap, sacrificing his own existence. Jin Woo, seeing his ally and former enemy perish, wastes no time. He activates the key. A portal to the Providence Sphere dimension opens before him. He takes one last look at the dying king and leaps through the portal. Jin Woo finds himself in a strange, white, infinite space. In the center, a gigantic, glowing sphere of providence hovers, displaying images from across the earth, all the battles, all the suffering. The remaining overlords, beings of pure mind and magic, without physical form, are also here. They are surprised by his appearance, but do not perceive him as a threat. To them, he is an insect that has infiltrated their sanctuary. Jin Woo wastes no words. His target is the sphere. He attacks it, but his blows cause no damage. The overlords, irritated, begin to attack him. Using powers against which there is no defense, they attempt to erase his soul, rewrite his memories, and dissolve his will. Jin Woo is subjected not to physical torture, but to existential torture. He is shown alternate realities, one where he didn't obtain the system and died in the first dungeon, one where he joined the monarchs, one where he became a tyrant. But his will, tempered by everything he has experienced, is unwavering. He remembers why he is fighting, not for an abstract victory, but for specific people, his sister, his mother, Cha Hae-in, his comrades. His desire to protect them proves stronger than the power of the gods. He breaks through mental attacks with a single effort. Freed, he understands that to destroy the sphere requires not physical strength, but a will capable of rejecting the very reality created by the sovereigns. He concentrates his entire being, everything he is, into a single point. Jin Woo closes his eyes. He renounces all the statuses, skills, and titles given to him by the system. He becomes simply Seong Jin Woo. He extends his hand toward the sphere and utters not a spell, but a command to reality. Disappear. This is not shadow magic or force. It is the manifestation of his absolute, unfettered will. The sphere of providence, the artifact that controlled destinies, cracks, then shatters into glittering shards that fade. With the sphere's destruction, the sovereign's connection to Earth is severed. Their powers on the planet instantly fade. Silence reigns in the white space. Then, deprived of their playing field, the sovereigns, in panic and rage, turn their full attention to Jin Woo, determined to destroy him. Deprived of their source of power and disconnected from Earth, the overlords weaken. But their fury is boundless. Jin Woo doesn't fight them. He uses the last of his strength to open a portal back to Earth. He knows his task is complete. The overlords, trying to stop him, attack, but their attacks are losing strength. At the last moment, before jumping into the portal, Jin Woo sees the overlord's dimension begin to collapse along with them. The price of victory is the complete depletion of his own life force. His body begins to disintegrate. He falls through the portal, which closes behind him. He lands not in Antarctica, but at a random point in space above the Pacific Ocean. His consciousness fades. He has fulfilled his mission. The moment the sphere is destroyed, a miracle occurs on Earth. All gates instantly close. Monsters, deprived of the support of the Overlord's magic, either turn to dust or lose their aggression and flee. The war ends as suddenly as it began. Cha Hae-in in Antarctica sees the black sphere vanish, and Jin Woo's lifeless body falls from nowhere. She catches him. He's alive, but his body is cold. His pulse is barely perceptible, and his eyes are empty. He's near death. Across the world, hunters and survivors can't comprehend what happened, but they know they've won. Cha Hae-in finds the strength to call for help. Jin Woo is taken to Seoul's finest hospital. Days of agonizing anticipation begin. The world struggles to recover from its wounds, and the hero who saved it hovers between life and death. Several weeks pass. The world is slowly recovering. Hunters are no longer needed in the war against the gate, but their forces are used to rebuild infrastructure and provide aid. Cha Hae-in remains by Jin Woo's bedside. His sister, Ji-hyo, also comes to see him. They wait. The doctors shrug their shoulders. His body is intact, but his consciousness is gone. It's not a coma, but something else, as if his soul has wandered too far. Meanwhile, Jin Woo's mother awakens from her long-ago coma. The first thing she asks is about her children. While the world celebrates his survival, Jin Woo's loved ones are immersed in grief. One scene shows Cha Hae-in talking to his motionless body, telling him how his recovery is progressing. And then Jin Woo's finger twitches. Jin Woo opens his eyes. He doesn't understand where he is or how much time has passed. His mind is clouded. The first thing he sees is Cha Hae-in's face, crying with happiness. Then his sister runs into the room. He tries to speak, but he can't. He returns, but his strength has completely left him. He no longer feels any mana or connection to the shadows. He's become an ordinary person again, even weaker after what he's been through. But he's alive. A long and difficult period of rehabilitation begins. Jin Woo relearns how to walk, talk, and live without the system, without the constant threat of death. He meets his mother, the most emotional moment of his life. Months pass. Jin Woo lives a quiet life with his family. He becomes a national hero, but avoids the public eye. The world honors him, but few understand the sacrifice he made. He visits the graves of those he couldn't save, including his first guildmates. He comes to terms with the past. He also meets with the surviving guild leaders. Choi Jong-in, aged and broken by the war, comes to him and publicly apologizes, admitting his mistake. Despite his peaceful life, Jin Woo feels empty. He saved the world, but lost a part of himself. His relationship with Cha Hae-in develops, but he fears being a burden. Furthermore, he begins to notice strange dreams, memories of the battle with the overlords, which contain inconsistencies. Jin Woo begins an investigation. He feels the ending was too pure. He visits the sites of the former gates and speaks with scientists who studied magic. He discovers an anomaly. Mana has not disappeared from the planet. It has weakened, but remains. People can still become hunters, even though there are no new gates. This means that the system created by the overlords was not completely destroyed, but merely lost control. Moreover, in his dreams, he increasingly sees the moment of the sphere's destruction and hears the final whisper of the tenant. Not the end. His suspicions are confirmed. Igaril's shadow secretly comes to him, not through a summon, but as an independent being, living in the shadow world, which now exists parallel to the human world. The shadow reports that the shadow world has not disappeared, and that something strange is happening within it. Jin Woo, following Igoril, discovers he can enter the shadow world at will, albeit briefly and with great difficulty. This is his personal ability, not a gift from the system. In the shadow world, he finds his old soldiers. They are free, but still loyal to him. From them, he learns shocking news. The King of Hell is not completely dead. His last spark of consciousness remains deep within the shadow world, and he is slowly recovering. Moreover, there, in the very depths, lies the final, most terrifying shadow, the shadow of the tenant, Shadow Lord himself, which Jin Woo unknowingly dragged along with him when he fled. Jin Woo understands that his work is not finished. He must finally deal with the legacy of the lords and ensure the complete safety of his world. But now, he no longer has the power he once had. Jin Woo gathers his loved ones, his mother, his sister, and Cha Hae-in. He tells them frankly of the threat. He says he must enter the shadow world to finish what he started and forever sever the connection between worlds. This is the hardest farewell. His mother, tearful, blesses him. His sister vows to wait. Cha Hae-in declares she will go with him. He refuses, saying this is his burden and his path to redemption. He promises to return if he can. They believe him. Jin Woo enters the shadow world for the last time. Igoril sees him off. His goal is the depths, where the last traces of the gods rest. His journey through the shadow world recalls his first days in the dungeons. But now everything is different. Here, he is not an all-powerful ruler, but a guest in the realm of death. He finds the spark of the King of Hell. He is weak and poses no threat. They have a final conversation. The king thanks him for freeing him and says that now that the Lord's game is over, he can finally rest in peace. His spark fades, reconciled. Now Jin Woo must find and destroy the shadow of the renter. He descends into the very depths to a place where there are no shadows, only emptiness and the memory of an all-consuming darkness. Deep within, Jin Woo finds a sphere of absolute darkness, the trapped consciousness of the Shadow Sovereign. It's weak, but still dangerous, like a virus. The tenant speaks to him. He doesn't threaten, but offers a deal. He admits defeat, but says that darkness is an integral part of the universe. He offers Jin Woo the chance to become the new Shadow Sovereign, not a tyrant, but a guardian of the balance between light and darkness, so that such a war will never happen again. He offers him not power, but knowledge and responsibility. Jin Woo faces a choice once again. Accept his legacy and forever bind himself to the shadow world, guarding both worlds, or destroy this last threat and risk upsetting the balance. He ponders for a long time. Jin Woo remembers everything. The pain of loss, the weight of power, the joy of salvation, the faces of loved ones. He understands that simple destruction is the path of the old Jin Woo, who thought in terms of war. The new him, who has lived through everything, chooses the path of creation and responsibility. He accepts the offer, but on his own terms. He absorbs the sphere of darkness, not to become a god, but to take control of it and imprison it in the very heart of the shadow world, becoming its eternal guardian and regulator. He becomes not a god, but the key and the lock. With this act, the shadow world finally calms down. The connection between the worlds is not severed, but becomes stable and secure. The task is accomplished. But now, Jin Woo must decide where his place lies. Having completed his mission, Jin Woo stands at the border between two worlds. He can remain in the shadow world as its guardian, or return to humanity as an ordinary person. He chooses humanity. He uses the last vestige of his connection to open a portal back to his old world, Seoul. He emerges in the same place he left. Exactly 1 year has passed since his departure. He walks along familiar streets. The world lives peacefully. No one recognizes the fabled savior in the feeble young man. He heads to where they await him. Jin Woo arrives at the park where he once agreed to meet Cha Hae-in. If he returned another day, she would wait there every anniversary of his departure. He sees her. She stands there, her back to him, looking at the sunset. He approaches and quietly says, "I kept my promise." She turns around. There are tears in her eyes, not of sadness, but of endless happiness. They embrace wordlessly. Everything that needed to be said has already been said. Jin Woo returns home. His mother and sister greet him. His true, well-deserved, peaceful life begins. 10 years pass. Footage of a peaceful, prosperous Earth is shown. Hunters have become part of society, helping with peaceful causes. Gates and monsters are a page of history. We see Jin Woo. He is married to Cha Hae-in. They have a young daughter. He works as an instructor at the Hunter Academy, teaching the next generation not strength, but responsibility, tactics, and humanity. He is happy, calm, and at peace. His strength hasn't returned, but sometimes, while playing with his daughter, he can briefly create a small animal figurine from the shadows, and they laugh together. His sister, Ji-hyo, is shown, now a successful doctor. His mother, healthy and happy. His former comrades, living their lives. The world moves on. In the final scene, the adult Jin Woo leads his daughter by the hand through the park. She asks him, "Daddy, is it true you were once the strongest hunter in the world?" He smiles, looking at her and then at the sky. He replies, "Strength isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is knowing what you're fighting for. And I fought for this moment. For you, for Mom, for everyone." They continue walking. The camera pulls back, revealing a peaceful city and a blue sky. Jin Woo's story, which began at its weakest, ended at its strongest, in peace, tranquility, and love.